All right, let's move on to the next category we have is Best Surprise Movie. Dave, what do you have for this category?
All right. I am very afraid that I'm going to have at least one crossover with Brendan. I can almost guarantee it. But the first one is Ghostlight, which I talked about before.
Okay.
The second one is My Old Ass, which I also talked about before. That movie should have made hundreds of millions of dollars. It is like good for everybody, like family film. Everyone should see it. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. It's a terrible title. I think the title is a mistake. It's funny. It's a funny title.
Yeah.
But when you tell people, what would you see this week? Well, I saw My Old Ass. It's like, yeah, that's not that's not a conversation I want to have. Immaculate is Immaculate is also in there for surprise movie. Thelma, which we talked about before, which is a movie that I recommend to everybody. Everyone's like, what movie should I watch this year? Thelma. Thelma is a movie that everyone can watch and have a great time. Yeah. No one's going to get offended by it. It's not weird. It's not artsy. It's just like it's a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movie with an old lady in it. It's great. And the last one is Hundreds of Beavers. Very much a surprise this year. I can't think of a movie that would be more surprising any year. I was so grateful to have been able to see it. And spoiler alert, that is my winner. Hundreds of Beavers. Is
wow. Okay.
Category. It's just, I think it's kind of a work of genius. It's like tapping into silent film. It's tapping into animation. It's tapping into romance. It kind of has everything. And if you can sit with it, because, it's a movie with basically almost no dialogue. But one of the funniest movies of the year, one of the most enjoyable experiences I had watching a movie this year. So yeah, Hundreds of Beavers.
It is a nominee for me as well in this category, and a lot of it is because of what you're saying. It's there are so many movies that came out this year that really come out any year where we talk about a filmmaker really trying to challenge the form of what movie making can be. In the case of Hundreds of Beavers, this one is doing it with so much joy, and they're having so much fun trying to do that. You don't really see it that often with that type of sensibility, which is really refreshing for sure. So yeah, that's a nominee for me, as well as movies like The First Omen. Furiosa, Mad Max saga took me by surprise. Love Lies Bleeding was pretty surprising, given some of the directions it goes in the end. And then Smile 2 took me by surprise for how much better it was than its predecessor. I think that's a very effective horror film, at least by comparison to its predecessor. I'm not going to talk about this one too much because I already talked about it quite a bit with regard to Arkasha Stevenson, but I'm giving this one to The First Omen for all the reasons I talked about earlier. I just did not expect this type of ownership to produce this type of movie. I was really surprised by that.
All right.
Yes.
My nominees for Best Surprise Movie, the first nominee I have here is the documentary Babes. Absolutely phenomenal documentary there about motherhood and parenthood.
I feel like that's a new subgenre, right? Actual movies that are for feature narrative films that do function as parenting documentaries of sorts. What was the other one? Incredibles 2?
Incredibles 2 is the other awesome documentary in that subgenre. Yeah. No, I loved Babes. It certainly taps into a realism you just don't expect when you're walking into a supposed comedy, and it is very funny. It's a great comedy, but man, it's grounded qualities I think are equally fantastic, and that did surprise me. The next nominee I have on here is Transformers 1. This might go down as the actual biggest jump in terms of the surprise factor, because the trailers and the marketing for Transformer 1 were absolute garbage. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. And then the film comes out, and I was blown away by how great it is as far as depicting that friendship and the ultimate unraveling of that relationship. I thought was really, really great, and ended up being one of the better animated films of the year. So Transformers 1 is a nominee for me. I noted this earlier. A Quiet Place Day One is a nominee for me as well. It comes out, gets very little fanfare. I missed it in its opening weekend because I was on my family vacation. I come back, I watch it, and I was blown away that it wasn't being talked about more. I really love that film a lot. My next nominee here, Dave, you talked about it, My Old Ass. Absolutely adore that film. And
see what I mean when you say it? You talked about it, Dave. My Old Ass.
My Old Ass. Yeah. Yep. It's a little weird. Great title. Maybe that's part of the fun. But no, I love what that film is going for. Like, and not just in terms of its characters or its premise, all of that is really great. I love the performances, but also like on a thematic level, it's a gut punch. It's an absolute gut punch. And again, not something that I necessarily anticipated, but really love that film a lot. My last nominee here is also my winner, and I am totally with you, Brendan. The First Omen is my pick here for best surprise movie. And I don't really have too much to add to what you said earlier. Like it's crazy that this came from a studio, a major studio,
and a first-time director.
And a first-time director. I mean, the way it uses surrealism and horror, not to render superficial thrill, but to create visceral mood and atmosphere in these thick, daunting, palpable ways. I love the fusion of craft and visuals with the storytelling and its themes and commentary on religiosity. It's fantastic. So yeah, I don't know how Stevenson got away with that one, but I'm so glad that the film exists.
Feels like something Neon would have picked up as opposed to 20th Century Studios. It really has more of those sensibilities that we tend to see from Neon right now.
100%. And I believe you guys spoke to it earlier as well, but like it's also why it's ties to the first, or to the Omen rather, and that kind of coda you get at the end did not bother me at all. Like everything about that film is so inspired and subversive to perhaps what we would expect.
It's because the first time it's the first time we've had a movie like this that directly ties to another franchise, where that tie to that franchise almost means nothing. It's not like how Alien Romulus treats it, where it's actually crucial to that film.
That's the antithesis to the first Omen.
Well, Alien Romulus also means nothing, so there's a connection.
It does mean nothing. That is a very, very good point. The difference is that it's trying to mean something.
Yes.
I agree, and I loved it. I thought it was really, really great. I love the first Omen. Certainly one of the better horror films of the year, no doubt about it. All right, that is best surprise movie.